Welcome to the deep dive. This week, we really took on a sprawling collection of sources.
We had a big one.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about everything from the psychological cost of just our digital lives to the very strange optics of climate activism.
And then all the way to the hidden price tag of professional success.
Exactly. So our mission today is to try and cut through some of that noise, find the common threads, and give you some clarity and context in what is really just an overload of information.
It really is. And the theme that just kept coming up for me was this relentless fight for your attention.
Right.
It's not just about what you click on. It's this deeper struggle between what's manufactured to look a certain way and what's actually, real.
Absolutely. And let's start with a statistic that should, I think, genuinely shock you. It just sets the stage perfectly. Many people now spend more time looking at screens than they do asleep.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And if you look at, say, the 18 to 25 demographic, screen time can average 7, even 8 hours a day.
That is just an immense amount of your life force. I mean, imagine if a new drug came out and it made people just stare at their own hands for 6 hours a day. Motionless.
We'd call it a national crisis, a public health emergency.
Immediately. Yet we're doing something just as strange, just as self-absorbing with our phones, and we've completely normalized it.
And the scary part is, for a lot of younger people, that digital world is the real world. That's where they're spending most of their waking hours.
And that's what makes it so hard, because it's fundamentally an unfair fight.
We mean?
Well, you're not just fighting your own willpower. You're up against the most profitable companies in history. Companies that hire the smartest behavioral scientists on the planet.
To engineer content and interfaces that are specifically designed to be addictive.
Precisely. They are masters at extracting your attention, because that's the resource they sell.
And resisting that, I mean, it takes a kind of discipline that you just didn't need 30 or 40 years ago.
Not at all. And if we look at where this is all going, some of the sources we're touching on these cutting-edge new interfaces.
Like the augmented reality glasses.
Yeah, the prototypes where you're moving a cursor with your eyeball and you're literally pinching your fingers in thin air to, manipulate what you see.
It's this move towards total digital incorporation, right? We're going from hitting a specific key to this constant fluid interaction.
And that transition really highlights this deep problem in tech design, which is called path dependency.
We get stuck.
We're constrained by old, sometimes really inefficient designs just because they came first. And it's too much of a hassle for everyone to switch at once.
The classic example is the QWERTY keyboard.
Oh, absolutely. It's an antique. It was designed back in the 1870s to be slow.
To be inefficient.
Oh, right.
On purpose.
Right, to stop the keys on mechanical typewriters from jamming. And you compare that to something like the Dvorak layout.
Which is way more efficient, puts, 60 or 70% of keystrokes on the home row?
Exactly. But almost nobody uses it.
Yeah.
The coordination problem of retraining everyone it outweighs the benefits. We are trapped by technological inertia.
And it isn't just keyboards. I mean, this stuff is written all over our history.
Like what?
Like the simple fact that men's and women's shirts button on opposite sides.
Oh, right. That goes back to the 1700s.
Yeah, aristocratic women were usually dressed by their servants, who were right-handed. So the buttons were on the left side of the shirt to make it easier for the servant.
So it's a fossil from an old class structure that's still in our clothes today.
Exactly that. Or why the UK drives on the left. It sounds quirky, but it's so a right-handed person on a horse could keep their sword arm free.
On the right side, ready to draw and defend themselves.
These historical accidents are like ghosts in our modern machine, still dictating what we do.
It's a great reminder of how the past traps the present. And speaking of trapped behavior, let's shift from that inertia to the chaos of public discourse, specifically activism.
Yeah, you see that fight for attention playing out constantly there. The sources brought up Greta Thunberg's supporters dyeing the canals in Venice green.
And not just Venice, it was like a dozen other Italian cities.
Right. And the problem with these really disruptive acts, throwing soup on a Van Gogh, gluing yourself to a highway,
they're great at getting headlines.
they succeed wildly at capturing headlines, but they often fail completely at capturing conviction.
They actually repel the conviction you need to change minds. One of the sources called the activist a Swedish doom goblin.
Which, however you feel about the issue, it perfectly captures that negative reaction people have to aggressive, scolding rhetoric.
People just don't respond well to being shrieked at.
No. And that leads us straight into this psychological pattern that you see repeated all through history. the Cassandra complex.
From the Greek myth, Cassandra could see the future,
She foresaw the fall of Troy, yeah, but the curse was that nobody would ever believe her.
even though she was 100% right. So the complex is being correct, but being early and just getting systematically mocked for it.
And we have seen this play out over and over. Think of Rachel Carson. She wrote Silent Spring in 1962 about the dangers of DDT.
And the establishment just mocked her viciously.
But her work eventually led to the pesticide being banned.
Or that doctor in the 1840s, Ignaz Semmelweis, he just told other doctors to wash their hands to stop childbed fever.
Such a simple thing.
A life-saving measure. But he was ridiculed by academia, thrown out, and he died in an asylum. Decades before germ theory proved he was right all along.
And even someone like Edward Snowden. Initially, many called him a traitor, but later it was confirmed he'd revealed factual government surveillance.
So the challenge for you, listening, is how do you tell the difference between a righteous Cassandra and, a crazy person who's just convinced by bad data?
And that difficulty is what makes this next part of our sources so vital, because it pushes back really hard on the current climate discussion.
It suggests that focusing only on carbon might be, and this is a quote, a weird one.
A lot of this counterargument comes from looking at past predictions that didn't pan out. Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, for example.
It was criticized for exaggerating the speed of change, that idea of a 20-foot sea level rise being imminent.
When the scientific consensus was that it would take centuries.
Right. And a court in the UK actually found 9 distinct errors or exaggerations in the film. But beyond that rhetoric, you have to look at the hard data that rarely gets mentioned.
Like the fact that climate-related deaths have actually gone down.
By a staggering 98% over the last century.
And why? Largely because of cheap, reliable energy gas, coal, nuclear. That lets us protect ourselves from extreme heat and cold. The real killers.
And here's an even more surprising fact from the sources. There's actually more green on Earth today than 100 years ago.
More foliage.
Demonstrably more. And it's attributed in part to increased carbon emissions acting as, essentially, plant food, a global greening effect.
So if you accept that counter data, the question shifts completely. It becomes, where should we be putting our limited attention?
Exactly, because the most immediate, measurable, and frankly disgusting environmental problems are local. Pollution, toxins in our rivers, stuff we can actually see and fix.
This is where the work of Toby Ord comes in. He's at the Future of Humanity Institute at Oxford, and he tries to rank these big existential risks objectively.
And his ranking puts climate change at a 1 in 1,000 chance of causing human extinction in the next century.
1 in 1,000.
Yeah.
Now, compare that to the other risks he ranks.
Unaligned artificial intelligence. He puts that at a 1 in 10 chance.
1 in 10.
And engineered pandemics, 1 in 30.
That is a massive difference. If you only have so much worry to go around, the way we're currently allocating our attention seems, wildly disproportionate to the actual ranked risk.
We're fixated on the 1 in 1,000 risk, while a 1 in 10 is staring us right in the face.
Which brings us right back to incentives. Why is carbon the main conversation?
Well, you have to follow the money.
Billions of dollars flowing into green initiatives.
But the sources suggest that for a lot of these big climate organizations, the vast majority of that money goes to sustaining the organization itself. Salaries, admin, not direct impact.
And for politicians, saying climate change is real is just very effective campaign rhetoric. It gets votes. It gets power.
And this is that tension Elon Musk talks about. Being interested in the reality of doing good, not just the appearance of doing good.
That dynamic is at the core of what the sources call toxic compassion.
It's when you prioritize short-term emotional comfort, appearing empathetic or inclusive, over a much more uncomfortable long-term reality.
And it ends up hurting the very people you think you're helping.
Exactly. It's the dynamic that leads people to say body weight has no impact on health, even though we know obesity is linked to earlier death. The compassion for someone's feelings overrides the medical facts.
Or claiming male athletes have zero physiological advantage in female sports. It's done for inclusion, but it happens at the exclusion of biological female athletes.
Which brings us to a really recent flashpoint. The World's Strongest Woman competition.
Where the winner, Jamie Booker, was stripped of her title after it was discovered she was biologically male.
Competition is, by its very nature, about measuring advantages. Bone density, lung capacity, grip strength. You can't just wish those away. It's like an elite athlete sandbagging, competing in a lower division just to win.
And the sources seem to suggest that this issue, protecting fairness in women's sports, is becoming a real line in the sand. It's pulling people back to a common sense reality, regardless of their politics.
Because the biology in competitive settings is it's undeniable.
Yeah.
And this desire for control, for defining things, we also see it in government policy.
Specifically in the UK's online safety bill.
The chilling effects of that are pretty serious.
It's this profound law that's caused a huge spike in self-censorship, all driven by fear. It puts a duty of care on platforms to remove content that's legal but harmful.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Harmful is so subjective, the penalties are huge, so companies just over-censor everything to be safe.
It's always safer to take something down than risk a fine. It shrinks the public square.
And the numbers are just startling. The sources cite that 12,000 people were arrested last year in the UK for social media posts.
12,000. Allegedly more than in Russia.
And some of the specific examples are absurd, like the teacher arrested for not using a student's preferred singular plural pronoun. When the government starts policing grammar with arrests, that's a profound shift.
Let's shift gears now, away from societal control and into the individual psychology of success. Because the price of that kind of drive is enormous.
And we had this incredibly honest quote from the golfer Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, right after he won a major, you'd think he'd be on top of the world.
But his self-awareness was just brutal. He said winning a major is awesome for about 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And then the pressure comes right back. He literally wondered, what's the point? He works his entire life for this one moment, and it offers no lasting fulfillment.
It's that hedonic treadmill, right? You hit the peak, but your baseline happiness just resets almost instantly. You're always chasing the next outcome.
So people sacrifice their present happiness, the joy in the process, for an outcome they think will finally make them happy, but it never does. Not really.
And so often that extreme drive isn't fueled by contentment. It's fueled by deep internal struggle, a kind of madness.
Most world-class performers, like a Mike Tyson, they trace their focus back to trauma, unhappy childhoods, internal demons they're trying to outrun.
And you contrast that with someone like Dave Chappelle. He's incredibly successful, but he seems genuinely balanced.
The sources suggest his secret is prioritizing the craft of comedy. He'll perform for free in tiny clubs, just working on material.
His love of the process is more important than being the #1 touring act.
Exactly. And you see it with the snooker player Ronnie O'Sullivan, too. His book is basically about managing the madness required for his level of genius. The most successful people often struggle the most.
And this complexity of the human mind, how easily it's fooled, brings us to our last bit on memory. The incredible case of Donald Thompson.
Right, the TV psychologist. He was accused of sexual assault.
And the woman positively identified him. She was certain it was him.
But his defense was airtight. He was on live television at the exact time the assault happened.
The victim had completely genuinely blended the face of her attacker with the face of the man she saw on her TV during the trial.
Her memory was certain, but it was fundamentally corrupted.
And the ultimate irony is that Donald Thompson was on TV that night talking about the profound unreliability of eyewitness testimony.
It's just a stark reminder of how fragile our grip on reality really is.
And research on things like hypnosis just shows how weird this gets. Dr. David Spiegel found that about a quarter of people can quit smoking after just one hypnosis session.
This weird backdoor into the human psyche. The mind can just rewrite its own programming. It's incredible, but also a little terrifying.
So, after all that, what does this all mean for us? We've gone through the attention wars, the clash between rhetoric and facts, the trade-off between success and happiness.
And the core tension seems to be between authenticity and manufactured reality.
Yeah. In a world with endless, perfectly polished content, people are just craving vulnerability, realness, redemption.
They want to see people struggle and find their way back. The sources point to the singer Louis Capaldi.
Right. He developed a severe Tourette's tic from the pressure of performing. He struggled on stage at Glastonbury.
But he did the work. Therapy, mindfulness, and he came back. And that story, that frailty and redemption, that's what people connect with.
We root for that because everyone at some point has struggled. It connects us. But that brings us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with.
Given the huge commercial incentive to create perfectly tailored content designed to make you feel fulfilled, and with the rise of AI that will generate hyper-realistic, completely immersive experiences, what happens when that manufactured fulfillment becomes perfect? What happens when an AI can generate content that is totally indistinguishable from messy, complicated human reality?
What will authenticity even mean then? And will our real struggles still have any value when you can have a perfectly engineered illusion of struggle and triumph instead?
We'll let you chew on that one. Thanks for diving deep with us.